I guess.
No.
Okay. So our Unit 1, our introductory unit, is Nice to Meet You, and it's connected to the AP theme of personal and public identities. And our essential question is, how can I make small talk with a new person? And our enduring understandings is I can introduce myself and ask and answer basic questions. And they will be expected to perform by a novice mid to pass. Um, so our unit competencies, if we look at interpretive, um, for our listening assessment, IPA, students will listen to someone describe the weather in Granada, and they'll fill in the blanks and answer some questions. So that's nice because it's an authentic resource, and it's something that students will find in real world situations. For our reading, students will read various weather forecasts, complete a forecast, and answer questions. And I believe in that assessment too, there's some tweets about the weather, which again we talked about is very real world opportunity, and we're also discussing that a way to introduce that is, like Twitter and how it is used by teenagers and abbreviations and how that they can read to understand that. And then also to see the authentic tweets and how they don't abbreviate. So to see like what's acceptable academically and then what's accepted socially, which is very important. Our interpersonal IPA is that we'll have a student and one or two classmates will greet each other and introduce themselves to one another in Spanish. And we also discussed that they have had plenty of opportunities to practice interpersonal with the wheel. So they should be ready to go for this IPA. And for presentational, we came up with one speaking and one writing, and you're able to choose which one you would like to do. For the speaking, students will present a voice message with basic information, and we talked about how we can give students that choice and voice about how they want to do that. They can record it on an app using Google Voice, or they would also be able to present it orally to the teacher, but they again can have options on how they want to leave this message. For writing, students will write a short message with basic information. Again, it allows for creativity because it could be a pen pal letter, it could be a journal entry. What's that?
Could be text.
It could be texts, right? So again, things that are very applicable to their real life and situations on how they can use their Spanish. So our toolbox, our language functions, and our can-do statements is I can introduce myself and ask and answer basic questions. Again, we want them to feel comfortable with the language right away, and that is the most basic necessity when you are learning a language. Our related structures and patterns are the alphabet. We're talking about the Spanish sound system and how we can do certain basic rules to get them used to their pronunciation and recognizing of spelling. Really starting out having them using complete sentences with basic verbs. The singular pronouns put emphasis on the I, the you, and he, and she, and the you formal, and also therefore the singular forms of tener, ser, llamarse, and estar. And I love how we're doing estar right away because again that will show the feelings versus the characteristics, and then as we go on we can add more of the differences. So I love that. There's pronunciation, as I said before, and again polite discourse, talking about again how the courtesies and how people interact differently in our country versus Spanish-speaking countries. As for vocabulary, we realize we have a lot of the basic vocab that is essential to do those IPAs. So introductions vocabulary, the weather. We're talking about bringing in some culture with countries, and again in our tier 2 maybe some nationalities so they can talk about where they're from, or talk about a country, or read about a country and know what that means, which I think is important. Some kids that I've come across, they don't even know that Venezuela was a country. They thought it was a person when we did our reading last year. So I think it's important that we introduce them a little bit to that. greetings and goodbyes, dates, formula, academically, and days of the week, the numbers 0 through 31, and then birthdays and age. Okay. Key learning activities or formative assessments. We have definite, there's probably like a whole bunch more, but we put some, popular ones like speed dating. I don't know if anybody wants to explain.
Well, basically that the kids talk to each other, like you're like, okay, introduce each other really quickly using Spanish and then switch.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I've done that too with like the inner circle and the outer circle, and so those kinds of things are really great. Again, reading tweets, listening to weather forecasts so that they're ready for that IPA. Preparing for interpersonal and presentational, preparing for interpretive readings, preparing for interpretive listening. There's just a bunch of things that that we have that we use and to help them prepare. Some resources, Twitter, so that they can follow up with the hashtags and information. Technology integration, Google Voice, Croakit, Google Form. Notability, explain everything, anything where the students can, practice recording their voice or listening to themselves before they do that final IPA, whether it's on the iPad or whether it's presented to a group. It's good for them to be able to listen to themselves and, self-evaluate.